G'day brewers, today I've got 5 top hacks for home brewing so that you can make better beer at home. Let's get into it. So homebrew hack number 1 is temperature controlling your fermentation. So I'm going to head down to Crafted Taste and have a chat to Shari about the different options they have available in store.
Yeah, so temperature control I think is paramount, equally maybe secondary to sanitization. First thing that I would do if I don't have the ability to temp control with the things we're going to talk about, I'm going to control what temperature, I can't control what temperature I'm brewing at. That's when we're picking yeast strains that can be brewed at any temperature. So we've got 2 different types. Essentially, we've got Voss, Kveik, they're both the same thing. These guys will brew between 20 and 40 degrees.
That's quite hot.
Very warm. Optimally between 30 and 40. I probably wouldn't go too far above 35, but she will brew. And so for those who don't have the space, don't have the ability, or just want to keep it super simple, the one thing that's really easy to control is what yeast you're putting in there. And you can go gun-ho. The next one that I really like are these cooler bags. There's a couple of different styles. This is specifically a Firmzilla jacket, and we do have the Firmzilla brewing under here. All we do here in store is freeze some PET bottles, soft drink bottles, and they fit nicely down the side. You can use ice packs if you like. I have successfully even brewed a lager at 12 degrees in one of these. Now, yes, it took 4 frozen bottles consistently being changed out, but if you don't have the space for a fridge, you don't want to invest in the fridge, whatever it might be, it's a really cheap, affordable option for keeping your beers relatively cool. And it's an easy way to do it as well.
All right, yeah. So you've mentioned a fridge, which is the next thing to talk about. Go on Gumtree, get yourself a fridge, but a fridge goes quite cold, doesn't it? Like a fridge might keep your food at 4 to 2 degrees if it's functioning properly, and that's too cold for fermentation. So we have a hack. What do? We head down to the brew shop and we pick up one of these little Duvawackies. This is a way to temperature control your fridge, so you can make it stay at a warmer temperature. You might want to hit about that 16 degrees when you're making that ale. Power goes into the wall. A temperature probe goes inside the fridge to monitor the temperature. And on the back of these doohickeys, we've got 2 plugs, one for heat and one for cooling. And what you want to do is plug your fridge into the cooling, set the temperature on the box, and the compressor will kick in and kick out to keep your beer at the temperature you want it. So that's a simple, relatively cheap way to keep your beer at a standard fermenting temperature. And then you want a cold crash, you can decrease the temperature on your controller, the temperature in the fridge will drop. So this little doohickey gives you control over that whole process and will be the next step in brewing better beer.
I think what's really important to note as well is here us in Queensland, we struggle to keep our beers cold, but all of these things can also be used in climates when it is winter and it's getting cool and you're struggling to keep your beer warm enough and it's going too cold. So as you said, there is a heat port that can be used with a heat mat or a heat belt. These guys can also be used to insulate your beer. So by putting a heat pack or something like that, it's going to keep the brew warm. So they can be used on both ends of the spectrum.
Homebrew hack number 2. Oxygen will ruin your beer, especially hoppy beers. It'll turn those beautiful hoppy IPA notes into meh. So Tony from Babs has a pretty cool hint to try and keep oxygen out of your brew.
Cold crushing.
Cold crushing and
Right.
avoiding oxygen.
Tell us what you got, Tony.
So this is something I've been experimenting with for my last sort of 5 or 6 brews. And that is to capture the CO2 that blows off during fermentation in a foil balloon. And then when you do cold crash, it's just sucking CO2 back out of that foil balloon. There's a bunch of different ways you can do this. I've seen multiple setups, but the way I've got it, this is set up slightly differently because really aggressive ferment on this Belgian Dark Strong down here. So at the moment it's blowing off into a bottle, but normally this tube would go into the balloon, and then this little valve here is sitting separate to let gas out once your balloon gets full.
So
Yep.
it ferments away,
Ferments away.
fills the balloon with
Fills
CO2,
Yep,
more than you need.
that's right.
Yep.
And then when you want to do your cold crash, you're just closing your valve and then dropping the temperature, and the beer will suck back
Rather
CO2
than pulling
from
in
the balloon.
air, it pulls in CO2, which stops it getting oxidised.
Exactly. So if you just had your airlock in here,
Yeah.
it still sucks air and oxygen.
Or the
through.
liquid from your...
Or yeah,
Yeah.
worst case scenario, you lose a whole bottle of sanitizer
Yeah.
into
Yeah.
your beer.
Cool.
Cold crash.
Very good.
There you go.
Thanks very much.
Homebrew hack number 3 involves dealing with the chlorine or chloramines that may be in your tap water. Now you may recall this video a little while back where I had problems with spicy chlorophenol notes in my hoppy beers. And so to deal with that, I got an RO filter, and it's worked a treat. My beers have come up trumps. Now, if you don't want to spend all that time and effort, another way to drop the chlorine or chloramines out of the water is to use sodium metabisulfite, which you can pick up at the brewing store. Homebrew hack number 4 is for those who are using the brew in the bag method. Now after the mash, you do your mash out, and you might be there trying to squeeze every last drop of wort out of your bag for the boil. But Andy has a better way.
So I put the grain bag in here just to let it drain through. This is obviously a homemade affair, but it's quite effective.
Let's have a look at that.
So just the
Drilled little holes in the bottom.
bag sits in there and it drips through into this bucket, and of course you can collect it and tip it in. So just you can leave it dripping over there, or you can take it away and collect it in there. So
Yeah,
works quite well.
it's a nice little hack. Homebrew hack number 5 comes from one of Hendo's videos, which he did on his channel, Rockstar Brewing. Check that out if you're interested. So in that video, and it's something that Hendo often talks about, is we need to treat our yeast like living organisms, because they are. Sometimes we think of it just as magic powder that we add to our wort. But we need to think, we need to keep our yeast happy. We need to pitch plenty of healthy yeast, give them the nutrients and everything they need to survive, thrive, and turn those beautiful brewing sugars into the alcohol and the beer we all know and love. So we need to respect our yeast and provide the right environment for them to turn our brewers' wort into beautiful beer. And so now you've got those homebrew hacks, maybe you're ready to take on your own project. Why not check out this video where I show a quick, simple, cheap, and easy way to produce beer at home.